Hello, welcome to another episode of We're the Greers, and it's just me today. I'm going to be chatting with you about birthing babies, and I'm really excited to share our story. I'm not sharing in order to try to convince anyone to do what I did or believe what I did, but I know that I had a lot of questions when I was considering different options rather than the conventional hospital birth. And so I wanted to just share my story because if you're new here, I am pregnant with baby number 6. And I have actually had 2 hospital births with epidural, 2 birthing center births with no pain medicine, and then I had with Margaret, our last baby, a home birth. And so I feel like I'm in a unique position where I've just been able to experience all the different ways and can just sort of share my thoughts and my experiences. So Presley is our oldest, and she was born on her due date. I woke up that morning, I had mild contractions that I thought were like the real deal. Now, knowing what I know now, they were nothing. But we went to the hospital. We got admitted around 10 or so. I was around 3 centimeters, and because it was my due date, they decided to keep me, and I immediately got an epidural. In some ways, this was the most pleasant birth experience because it was just so new. It was exciting. I had the epidural, and so I felt no pain. I was watching a screen, and we would say, "Oh, I'm having a contraction right now." I didn't feel a thing, and it was almost like a party atmosphere because we had just family members coming in and out, and it was Super Bowl Sunday, and so we had the Super Bowl, pre-show going on, and she was born at 7 p.m. that night, and I had Pitocin, lots of the normal stuff that you have at a hospital birth. Pitocin to sort of get contractions going when it's stalling. I had the epidural and didn't really feel anything. Pushing was different because you don't feel anything. And so Jackson was also a hospital birth. About midnight, my water broke. Immediately, let's get to the hospital. And he was born by 9 o'clock that morning. So really fast deliveries. I've been lucky in that way. With Jackson, I think I was on Pitocin and stuff, and I got the epidural. I requested the epidural as soon as I got there, but it didn't get brought to our room until I was around 8 or 9 centimeters. And so I can remember Jackson we had problems with his heartbeat, and so I would have an oxygen mask on. In some ways, it was it was the most scary of all my experiences, and I'm lucky that it didn't all I had was an oxygen mask on. That's not awful. But Asher is when things sort of changed. I had been really interested in more of like health. Why are people getting sick? What is going on? And so Benjamin calls this sort of my hippie stage, which I'm still in. But all of a sudden, I was interested in whole food nutrition and thinking about the things that we put into our bodies. It matters. We are sort of what we eat and what we're using on our bodies. And so Asher, I went to the OBGYN that I went to with Presley and Jackson, but at 32 weeks, I just felt like this wasn't the birth experience I wanted. And as I started to read, I honestly didn't even know like home births or birthing center. I didn't even know what was even available. So I just started looking into it and did my research. And I think that's the biggest thing I would encourage anyone is to do your research. I feel like a lot of us have preconceived notions about all of it. And we sometimes just sort of go with what's conventional, but when we start to actually look at research and statistics, it can paint a different story. And so at 32 weeks, I changed practices. I went from the OBGYN to Greenville to a birthing center, and Asher was actually born at 38 weeks. So I was only in her care for about 6 weeks, and then he was born. And his was really interesting because he was born literally 10 minutes after we arrived at the birthing center. The birthing center was about 45 minutes away. There was obviously no pain meds going on, and so I was sort of in a lot of pain for a very long drive, and it was a little scary to think I could have had that baby in the car. But I loved the birthing center experience. We were also 2 minutes away from a hospital, so that sort of made some of the people that were worried about the birthing center idea, it sort of helped them out a little bit, just knowing that I was only 2 minutes away. Benjamin included. I think Benjamin will tell you he wasn't really on board at first with the birthing center idea, but he felt better about the hospital being close by. Well, I love the fact that we were home by 4 or 5 o'clock that afternoon, or we were released. We actually stopped by my mother-in-law's house. I had dinner there that night. I was just able to walk around. It just felt natural. It felt like the way it was supposed to be for me. And so with Eleanor, when I was pregnant with Eleanor, it was just a no-brainer that we wanted to do the birthing center experience again. And it was pretty much the same type of vibe. I got there. She was not born 10 minutes after I got there. It was more of, we got there probably around 8 or 9, and she was born at 3 p.m. that afternoon. But I was able to walk around, and I know that a lot of hospitals, you can do that now, but it was quite a different experience for me, because when I had the hospital births, I had IVs all in my arm. I was confined to a bed. I had to use a bedpan. And so I loved the freedom that having a birthing center birth brought. It just felt right for me. And so again, Eleanor was born at 3. We left about 5:30 or so and got home that day. It just felt really, really right. So when I was pregnant with Margaret, the idea of a home birth really was appealing to me. One of the reasons why is because when I was pregnant with Eleanor, there was this week where my in-laws, who are awesome and help us with so much, they were going out of town. And I was so worried because Asher had come early. I was so worried that Eleanor might come early. And of course, I wanted them, this was an annual vacation and trip that they took. I wanted my in-laws to be able to go on it. And so I was excited for them, but I was worried about what am I going to do if I have Eleanor while they're gone and my mother-in-law's not there to help me, because she's just the one person I can count on. And I had some friends that stepped up and said, hey, if you go into labor while your mother-in-law's gone, you call me. And that was so awesome, but it's hard for me to ask for help. And it was it was stressful. So one of the main things I loved is that with a home birth, my children could be here. At that point, I had 4 other children, and I didn't have to worry about trying to find childcare for them. Another thing that was really appealing to me was that I didn't have to drive 45 minutes in pain in a car to get to the birthing center. I would be able to labor at home, and my midwife comes to me. And I can say that out of all of the experiences, the home birth, it felt like the way the birthing process is supposed to be for me. I say that because I know that that's not for everyone, just like having 6 kids or homeschooling is not for everyone. But I think it's important to hear each other's experiences and, I don't know, just to sort of open our mind up a little bit to other possibilities. I think a lot of people think that home births are dangerous, and if you do the research, they are no more dangerous than any other place to have a birth. In fact, a lot of people think like the midwife is just going to try to keep you at home no matter what. And that is just not true. The midwife wants what is best for me and definitely wants what's best for the baby. And she's trained to look out for complications that are going to happen and get you to the hospital before anything bad is going to happen. The chance of that you're going to die from a home birth is just so low. Now, I know that there are people have stories, and I know that not everyone can have a home birth. And I know that I've heard stories of situations where if I had been at home, and my baby hadn't gotten immediate care, like I understand that. I think it's just a very individual decision, and I just have peace. Like I think it's something you have to pray about, and I have just total peace that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And if you don't have peace, then that means that maybe home birth isn't for you. But the home birth experience, let me talk a little bit more about that. So as soon as I had contractions, Margaret was about 5 days past her due date. And I text messaged my midwife and just to let her know, like, I'm starting to have some contractions. I'll keep you updated on, if they start to get more regular. And I took lots of walks that day. And then it got to the point where they got regular. But for me, they start getting regular really, really fast. And so I sent her a message and I was like, look, they're starting to become like 4 to 5 minutes. I think, you probably need to head this way. Now, she lives an hour away from me, so it's turned around to where she's coming to see me. And I was able to just labor at home, walk around our house. My children were here. They got here. I was at 9 centimeters or so. I was like, I'm going to have to push. She broke my water, and I probably pushed for 20 minutes or so, and Margaret was born. Now, I think a lot of people have this idea like this is just some kind of messy, awful experience. And I can promise you, without being gross or anything, there is not a single drop of anything yucky that I saw. The midwives, there are towels. They quickly, transfer and move things so that there is no mess. They take care of getting things in the washing machine and getting things clean. It was just amazing. They throw away the things that need to be thrown away. And the best part was just that I was able to just relax in my own bed, holding Margaret. And after we got her cleaned up and just got to bond for a few minutes, all of her brothers and sisters were able to walk in and just meet her for the first time 30, 40 minutes after she was born in our home. And it was just it was amazing. And then I tell people this too, and the midwife, she had a blanket like warming. So as soon as, everything was sort of cleaned up, this warm blanket was put on me and Margaret. And it was so cozy. And then the midwives sort of stay for a little while to make sure everything's okay. And then they quietly excuse themselves. And then I think what's even better is she comes to visit me the 2 or 3 or 24 hours after the baby's born, and then 2 or 3 days after the baby's born, and then 2 weeks. Like she comes to visit me, so there's no me trying to get out with this newborn and figure out where all the kids are going to go or if they're going with us. It was just a really, truly special time where I got to stay at home and just bond with Margaret and our family, just really be a family. So we had just an amazing experience. Is it for everyone? I'm not going to say that it is, but I'm certainly glad that we had the home birth experience. And I can tell you with baby number 6, we are planning on having another home birth experience unless something comes up that makes that not a possibility. So I'm always happy to answer questions, so feel free to leave them in the comments or reach out to me on Instagram. But I'm so happy you're here and heard my story, and I will talk to y'all next week. Bye.